Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if I'm on live yet. I am looking for my phone, which I'm supposed to keep next to me. And of course, I've already failed task number one. Now you can see the ceiling of my kitchen, which I'm spending a lot of time in during COVID, cooking way more than I ever have before. And unfortunately, putting on at least the Quarren 10. I think I've avoided the Quarren 15. All right, now I remember I was using my phone to make a video earlier. Now I see there's at least 3 people watching me walk through my house looking for my phone. I hope everyone out there is doing well. And you're gonna get to see my swimming pool, and you're gonna get to see my husband. There's Kevin.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. You all know Kevin as the oboist with the New Mexico Symphony. He's played with Santa Fe Symphony some as well. And yay! See, I was practicing in here. I'm so good. I was practicing my Kreutzer etudes, and I was making videos for my students. I think one of the things people are wondering is what exactly are us musicians doing musically during all this? And I'm going to see if I can make myself larger so I can see what I look like. Oh my gosh. I've got quarantine hair. So what I've been doing a lot of is helping my students out by making tutorials. And I love that these iPhones make things so easy that, you know, they'll send me a question like they're going to start a new piece, and I will just play through the piece a little bit, put in some fingerings, think about it, think about what's going to be hard for them. And then I just turn my camera on and I make them a tutorial and I send it to them by, you know, email or by text message. You know, those students are connected in all sorts of ways. So I realize I now have a YouTube channel that has over 50 video tutorials on it that I made during this COVID. So all sorts of things, you know, rhythm etudes, movements of Bach, movements of concertos that my students are looking at, you know, and all that. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to try to figure out how to look at this chat. And how do I look at chat? I'm clicking on it and it should come up here. I think it comes up. Oh, yay, there it is. It's on the left side of my screen. It's not like Zoom. By the way, I've been doing a lot of Zoom. I'm the professor at UNM, and I feel like I've spent more time in Zoom meetings over the summer than I've spent in a real faculty meeting in my entire life. And so anyway, I see Catherine has posted something in the chat, so I know that it works. So let's see, I'm looking at all these cool people who are potentially going to listen to this thing. Okay, so I told you about what I was doing with music. So actually, other than making 50 tutorials for my students, and if any of my students are checking in, they could post something that says, hey, thanks for those tutorials. But I'm also playing through all the Bach suites, cello suites, in the viola transcription, of course. What I did was I used to have a book of the suites that I'd had for about 20 years that had turned into cloth, and all the pages would fall out, and it was all out of order. And I decided to buy a new copy, brand new, fresh, nothing marked in it, and just start from scratch, because Bach is so great. Every time you revisit it, you have new thoughts. So I kind of wanted to just leave the pages more blank now and go with my feeling. Play it like you mean it. Okay, anyway, that was one of my little projects over the last few months. And then also I've received some kind of fun new music that I'm playing around with a little bit, and of course hoping when we can get back to performing, maybe I'll be giving a recital. I also have a sabbatical planned for the spring where I'm supposed to be performing new music, so it's great. I've already got a couple pieces written for me. One is, well, I have a viola concerto, and I have several solo pieces written by David Dean Mendoza, who's a composer from El Paso who teaches in Miami. And he has written some beautiful music. I've played his, I'm going to say his lament, He's got 2 short solo pieces that I've played several times, and the audience always loves his work, and I love playing it. He plays the viola, so he knows the viola. I also have some new movements from Mariano Morales, who we all know as the composer of the salsa wonderful concerto that Nestor Torres played last year. And so he sent me some shorter pieces, and he's actually trying to write, I'm not trying to, but he'll arrange it also with bass so that I can play with my son, Toby. So I'm looking forward to that. And so I'm playing through those. And I also have a really hard viola sonata written for me by Dante Anzolini, who conducted the Santa Fe Symphony, I want to say 2 years ago. I believe it was Brahms' Requiem. And he's a wonderfully gifted composer as well as conductor, and looking forward to working on that. More. I've been playing through them. They're not performance ready. You will not be hearing these today. Okay. I think I'm trying to figure out, it looks like we have 26 people tuned in. So I'm going to start answering some of the questions that were submitted in advance to us, because I think that's enough people that hopefully whoever submitted the question is online now. So the first question is, what drew me to the viola? And also, do I play any other instruments? So my parents are both musicians, Christine and Frank, and they're probably on this event live because they go to all my concerts, so of course they're gonna be tuned in. And they knew it was important for their kids to play music, and so they started us on piano, me and my sister. So I played piano 3 or 4, 5, 6 years, I don't know, from age 4 or so, I think, to about age 9. So what's that? I can do math, 5 years. And then I started violin pretty shortly after that, maybe age 5 or so. And when I get to be quite tall, because those of you who know me know I'm almost 6 feet tall, I was in high school, and it just kind of seemed like I might be a natural fit for the viola. Also, I was a very avid equestrian, and I was riding several hours a day. And to be the absolute #1 violinist in New York State, you are not going to be able to have another hobby. But you could be a violist and have another hobby. So I switched to viola, and of course, right away, could be principal in the All-State Orchestra in New York and still ride my horse every day. So I'd love to say it's because I started playing the viola and I just said, forget this violin thing. I don't like the violin anymore. But I think I like violin, viola, cello all about equally. And now I've come to love the bass with Toby playing. So I can sort of play piano, sort of. I can play the violin, and I played French horn in high school. I was self-taught. I had a friend in high school who sort of taught me so that I could be her stand partner in wind ensemble, and I was really, really terrible. I had no chops. Let's see. I think that answers it. In terms of staying with the viola, why didn't I switch back to violin or whatever, go for it with French horn? Well, I think that I realized I had a real knack for it, and my body type was such that it wasn't hard to play the viola. I think for smaller people, sometimes they have to make adjustments, you know, to fingerings and shifts, and they have to get smaller violas or ergonomic violas, especially as time goes on, because it is very physical. Violin fits in the right angle of your arm really well, and viola you have to play with your arm this way, more extended, and your fingers more extended. And so it's all just amplified in terms of the physical aspects. All right. Question number 2 is going on about my horse hobby that I mentioned. So at one point I was actually a professional rider and trainer, and I went to SUNY Stony Brook at first for college. It's a very good school for music, especially the graduate program is well known for music. And I was able to study with their premier teacher, John Graham, but I was actually a physics major, but I actually went there because they had the national champion show jumping team in the country. So I immediately became captain of the team, and I was teaching all these lessons, and in the summers, teaching lessons, taking students to horse shows and training horses for jumping for people. And so the question is, do I have any of my own horses? And the weird part is, now that I actually have time to ride every day, I've sold my horse. And for the first time in 20 years, I have no horse. And it's been really fun because all of my horsey friends have come out of the woodwork with horses for me to ride. Because I'm an amateur now, right? So they don't have to pay me. It's all good. And I don't have to be great either because they're not paying me. So I just go, and when I want to ride, I ride. And I've been riding like almost every morning. Some really nice horses, from an 18-hand thoroughbred to a really talented 14 two-hand Arabian and everything in between. And I don't know if I'm going to buy another horse. So those of you who are my horsey friends out there, don't send me any more links for horses for sale. Okay. And let's see. I don't keep them at my house. I used to have a horse farm in the South Valley about 18 years ago. And at one point I had, I think, 10 horses, and it was out of control. So no, I don't think I'll ever have them at my house again because I just want to go and ride. And when I'm not there, I want to be practicing because I need that time. Okay, next question is not horse related. Thank God for all you non-horse people. Have you ever played a concerto for two violas with Meister Figueroa? I've played Symphonia Concerto with him, which is a violin-viola duo concerto. Obviously, everyone pretty much knows that piece. It's a beautiful piece. But there were not that many duo viola concertos. There's one by Telemann that, frankly, is not that awesome. Okay. There's a Bach Brandenburg 6, which we could do, but it uses a very small group and harpsichord. It really should have gambas, and it's not a symphonic piece. It's like a Baroque ensemble piece. So I wanted to say that a piece that I would like to play with him that's for two violas is the Bridge Lament. It's gorgeous, gorgeous piece. You can look it up on YouTube. I think I have a video out there from Chatter, might still be on the webs. But that would be something, maybe at a Strata series concert, maybe we could play the Lament. So I'm just putting that out there, Guillermo. And then I found some other pieces that are violin viola concertos with symphony. And one I've played before, I think with clarinet, it's for violin, a violin, clarinet, or viola and violin, the Brook double concerto, and that's a really nice piece. It's been ages since I played that. And then there's also a concerto by Benjamin Britten, which I don't know at all, but I did listen to it a bit on YouTube, and it sounds interesting. So I don't know. It's possible. Do I see anyone in the chat saying, "Oh my gosh, you've got to do that"? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to the chat because I just realized I needed to scroll down on the chat. So Carl Winkler says, and viola just plain rules, which of course, Carl, is the correct answer. Okay, 100 points to you. And Nicole Maniaci is my old roommate, and don't let her tell any stories about me. I'm just gonna say that right now. Okay, and braiding at the state fair. Yeah, so going back to, I was at Stony Brook, right? How did I end up out here? Well, I did a national student exchange, and I designated 3 states that I had never been to and knew nothing about, and New Mexico was one of them. And surprise, surprise, somebody from UNM wanted to go to school near New York City, so they were willing to exchange with me. And I was only supposed to be here for a year, but I met people like Nicole, who have amazing magnetic personalities, and all the warmth I felt in the musical community here in New Mexico, and I couldn't leave. So I ended up staying and graduating from UNM, and I have to say I have the same degree as our governor, Bachelor of University Studies. You just take the bus and you get out of there eventually. So I had a really fun time at UNM, made great friends, played a lot of music, studied a lot of interesting esoteric things like Hemingway, Faulkner, Immanuel Kant. I took like every course you weren't supposed to take that was 400 levels so I could graduate. But I did braid horses. That was one of my gigs. I rode horses for people, and then I would go to shows and I would braid their necks all night long, and I could make hundreds of dollars a night. But my hands were like hamburger. So I'd have to go to rehearsal the next day, and my fingers were like all ragged, and yeah, it was kind of painful. I think it was before New Skin. New Skin would have helped. But my parents kind of said they were cutting me off when I moved to New Mexico because they were, as everyone knows, who knows my parents, they were my biggest fans, and then they couldn't go to my concerts anymore. And so they didn't want me to move out here. And so I had to make my own money. And of course, I bought 2 horses right away, so that increased my expenses. So that's the braiding story. Let's see if there's some more here. I'll go on with our other questions. What concerts are you most excited about in the new Santa Fe Symphony season? So I took some notes here. I went to the season page just so I could have my memory refreshed about what's going on. I'm really excited about doing Appalachian Spring with the Martha Graham Dance Company. I love that piece, and I can't wait to see the choreography, and I think that melding of dancing and music and seeing it all is just going to be a great experience for the players and the audience, of course. Let's see, what else? Stravinsky Symphony of Psalms. So, okay. I'm now going off on another tangent. So how did I become a professor at the university when I didn't major in music, right? Isn't that wrong? Okay, so I got in the Phoenix Symphony, was associate principal for 7 years, and while I was there, I decided to get a master's in viola performance and pedagogy. And I'm saying this because I remember that Stravinsky Symphony of Psalms was one of those pieces I had to study for music history. And I really loved it then. I love it now. And I don't even remember if I've ever played it before because I don't know if I know it so well from listening to it or playing it. But either way, I get to play it this year. Yay! With the chorus. Yay! Okay. I've got a couple other things here I'm looking forward to. Lexi Kenny coming back. Man, he's awesome. And he has such a great relationship with our orchestra. We are so lucky. Such a cool guy. Everything he plays is just golden. And he's going to play the Dvorak Violin Concerto, which is not played very much. Usually because Dvorak Cello Concerto is like played every other season, even though it's totally awesome. So I understand that. But this year we get the Violin Concerto, and that's going to be really special. Okay. Jessie Tatum is going to be a soloist. That's going to be so much fun. She's going to play this Rouse Concerto, which I feel like I've heard once before and really liked it. So I'm going to have to learn that so that I'm prepared for that concert. But I know she's going to knock it out of the park because we all know Jessie, and she's all showmanship. It's going to be like so exciting. Even if it's not somebody's favorite piece, it will be when she plays it. Let's see. Then the last thing is we're going to play the Jennifer Higdon Blue Cathedral. And I know that piece because I feel like it was something that an all-state group did somewhere. And I remember thinking, this is one cool piece, and couldn't wait to hear a professional orchestra play it. So we're going to do it. I love Jennifer Higdon's compositions. Everything I've played by her has been very emotionally moving, beautiful soundscapes. So that's going to be a great concert. Good. Carl Winkler also says Dvorak Violin Concerto, great piece. All right, 2 thumbs up for Dvorak Violin Concerto, Lexi Kenny. Let's see. I think I see something. Jackie Erickson, was it always the viola or was it music itself that lured you from physics? Interesting. Okay, first of all, my life is a series of just happenstances, like coming out to New Mexico because I'd never been here, right? Like, in fact, when the plane landed, I'd been asleep and I looked out the window and I didn't know it was a desert, and I freaked out because I thought that the atomic bomb had like leveled everything. I couldn't see it downtown, so I didn't see anything. I thought it was gonna be a crash landing. So my life has been kind of unplanned. So when I was in high school, I was a National Merit Scholar and I took all the honors classes, but I didn't really like any one subject all that much. And my physics teacher was problematic. He was a substitute who ended up getting arrested in the middle of the year, and we didn't have physics anymore. And so I thought, well, I missed physics. Why don't I do that in college? Because then I'll learn it. And I stuck with it for 3 years. And then at the end, I was like, I don't really love this, and I don't really want to be in the lab that much because the weather's great in New Mexico, and I want to ride my horse. So I finished that. So I wouldn't say it had anything to do with acoustics or viola or anything. It was just my own feeling that I'd been gypped, and I needed a chance to learn this material that my high school didn't give me. And I think it was fascinating. I love mechanics, and I did well in the classes. I had to take all that math. I took differential equations and linear algebra. That I didn't like so much. I mean, I did it because you have to do it. right? It's required. But I would not have been a math major. I think I wouldn't have minded being an engineer and devising things, but I don't really miss it, and I appreciate people who go that path because I know it takes a lot of work to complete that degree and work in that field. So let's see, anything else? Well, I'm glad Laura Dwyer likes the stories because I feel like I am just going on tangents. So you can also use the chat to say, Kim, you can stop now. It's okay. All right, so I'm back to my list of previous, oh, by the way, Wendy Cieslak says, now your parents are Toby's biggest fans. It's true. I've been passed over for my son. He is a rock star, and I want to say I'm his biggest fan, but I think my parents actually are his biggest fans. And what's really cool is Toby, he'll be on this Lives event. Is it Lives? I don't know, Facebook Live next week. And he started out with classical, but my dad is a fine jazz pianist, and he taught Toby jazz early on when he first took up the bass at age 10, and they've been playing together ever since. And now Toby's a really excellent jazz player as well, so that helps get him extra bonus points for my parents because I'm pretty square, and my dad does occasionally arrange things that we can play together, and people say, oh, that was so cool and jazzy. And I'm like, no, my dad wrote it all out so that I'd sound cool. That's what's so great about my dad. So I don't want to burst anyone's bubble or about their opinion of me that I'm much cooler than I am, because I'm just another classical musician playing classical music. I'm not one of those crossover phenoms. But anyway, Toby is that way, and maybe he can play next week on the air both some classical and some jazz for y'all. I'll ask him. All right, next question. Make sure I'm not missing anything from the chat. Oh my gosh, I'll do one more of these questions that were sent in advance, then I'll go to the chat. Somebody said, are you glad you're in New Mexico now, not in the COVID hot state of Arizona? And I have to say, yes. I'm seeing Arizona, and I'm still Facebook friends with lots of my colleagues from Arizona, and it's sad what's going on there. And of course, they have to spend more time indoors because it's so damn hot. And so in New Mexico, we can get outside and go to the mountains really easily, and you know, it's easy to be distant, to not feel claustrophobic, but they don't have as many options. They also have a different, shall we say, political landscape there, which might not be helping the situation. So I am glad that I am here with all my New Mexico peeps, and wear your mask. Okay, let's go to the chat. Math-minded people make great musicians. It's true. I think it helps my counting. You know, I can count up to at least 6. I do 6 pretty well. When did I meet Kevin? All right, this is another happenstance story. See how much time we have left. So when I was in New Mexico, I was practicing a lot, playing a lot. I actually played some with Santa Fe Symphony, and I subbed with New Mexico Symphony and stuff like that when I was still a teenager, actually. And I decided I wanted to do a music festival. And normally those summer music festivals were not something I would do because I had horses and I would compete in horse shows all summer. So I wasn't available for music festivals. But I said, all right, I'll do a short one. So I applied to the Banff Festival up in Canada, which is actually pretty selective. So I was very lucky to get in. And I also won some award where it paid for me to go. So it seemed like you got to go, right? So it was a 2-week masterclass series with, oh gosh, I will remember in a second, very famous woman and just an amazing player. It'll come back to me like in about 20 minutes. So I went up to Banff, flew into Calgary, took the bus out there, and I met Kevin there. He was actually the TA for one of my friends who lived across the hall, was an oboist at Yale, and Kevin was her teaching assistant for the teacher at Yale. So we would hang out together, and we really got along well, and we really liked each other, but like I was going places and he was going places, and we just lost touch. And that was like in 1990, something like that. And so about 7 or 8 years later, I was in the Phoenix Symphony, and I decided I wanted to come back to New Mexico in the summer. So this is gonna be one of those crazy stories. But I wrote a letter. Seriously, I wrote a letter with my own hand to John Crosby at the Santa Fe Opera and told him how great I was, and all the people he knew that knew me who would tell him how great I was and how they should hire me to play in the Santa Fe Opera. I can't believe I did that. But you know what? I got a call like a month later. I should have saved that on the old answering machine. Come play for this whole season. Somebody took maternity leave. And so strangely enough, Kevin was playing in the Santa Fe Opera that summer. I think that was 1998. I think that's 98. And so we reconnected there. And a year later, we were married. And I think the people at Santa Fe Opera were like, wow, you people move fast. But we'd known each other before. And actually, his sister and my sister were roommates at a different music festival even before we met at Banff. So it was like a lot of stars aligning. So yeah, that's the story. It's pretty strange how you don't make choices and you just live your life and things happen. Let's see. Dan Davis says, hello. Hi, Dan. All right, back to, by the way, I'm trying not to touch my face because I know that's bad, but I can't help it. Okay. What has been your favorite memory performing with the Santa Fe Symphony? So I've had so many great memories, even back to like 1990, carpooling with Nicole and Jelani and Catherine Matovich, and oh my gosh, it was so much fun. But that's then, and this is now, and now has a lot of fun times too. So I would say recently was playing the Meister concert variations. In fact, when I saw that that was going to be on the program, I think it was this past October the year before. I was supposed to go to Ecuador and do like a residency and perform and teach that same week. And I changed my whole plans because I said I've been waiting my whole life to play the Meister concert variations, wanted to play it with Guillermo, you know, so I made it happen so I could be here, and that was so much fun. And it was great sitting there hearing all my colleagues play their solo movements, and I don't know, it was just good times. Digging back deeper, I think this was in 2015, I played a Symphonie Concertante with David Fehlberg. That was one of my first years with the symphony as a principal viola, and that was really fun. I think we'd played it before together, so it was like, you know, shaking hands. Just was all good. We're not allowed to shake hands anymore, by the way, people. Remember, elbows or 6 feet. Okay, it's a public service announcement. Let's see. Oh, and other concerts. It's not so much the individual concert, but what I just love is like looking across at the other principals. Like Nicole and I always make sure we have really good sight lines, and there's so many times that the violas and the second violins like hold down the fort, and if we're not locked in, it's gonna be a blank start, okay? And so we have a lot of fun just kind of like lining up and holding things together, you know, that's what second violins and violas do. And also it's really fun to connect with Dana, because a lot of times when we have a singing melody, we tend to go, yay, it's a viola moment. Then we look over and we go, wait, we're playing with the cellos. That's why it sounds so good. So there's a lot of connecting with Dana, especially in the big lyrical stuff that we have. And it's just nice to have that connection. I'd like to say that I can connect with David, but the way I said, I end up not seeing him, but I hear him, and and I'm so close over on that side that I almost feel like I'm in the first violin section, so I don't have to like turn my head and stare over so much. But we can't have the looks that I get to have with, you know, Dana and Nicole. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Jessie, she was my student, so wonderful. She missed the beginning. So her question is, if you could play a duet with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be? Wow, that's a really good question. Shoot. You know, I'm feeling a little sentimental right now, because my very first real serious teacher, I don't know how to say this. I mean, I studied with my mom, and she was awesome. I studied with her from when I was about my mom would know this answer. About 8 till when I was about 14 or so on violin. And then what about when I switched to viola, I got the chance to study with Betty Jean Hagen. And she was a student of Galamian, who, if anyone knows anything about violin teaching, he's like the god of violin in our country. He was the god of violin in our country. And so she was a prodigy and protege of Galamian. She won, I want to say, second prize in Tchaikovsky competition and Queen Elizabeth Medal, and was like Woman of the Year in Canada. She was such an amazing person, and she just passed away, I want to say about 4 years ago. And I'd only seen her once or twice since I'd moved out of New York. But I so enjoyed my lessons with her, and she was everything was about the music, just the color you could make, and what's the music saying. I know we did technique stuff, because I see in my etude books from the time where she wrote a lot of Galamian stuff, a lot of Galamian ideas, but I just remember the motion. And I don't think I appreciated the times that I did play with her. I think there was one summer when she decided to put together a quartet, and we played, we just got together a couple times and read. But if she were living today, it would be great to drop in with my viola and just play with her, because she was an amazing mentor and such an important person to me. All right, let's see. Perry, look forward to seeing you and the rest of the on stage. Yes, let's remain optimistic. Optimism is good. Okay. Let's see. I'm getting all teared up about Betty Jean because she was such an important person to me. She was also a horse person, so she gets double kudos. Let's see. Have you ever performed any chamber pieces with your son, Toby? Well, just recently, we've had some opportunities through Chatter to play, and also through Placidus Artist Series. And we played, there's these lovely Glier duets that I think are originally violin, viola, or violin, cello. And then so I play the violin part on the viola. He plays the cello part on the bass. And they sound great in that arrangement. I don't know if they're published that way. Toby's playing off the cello part, and I may be playing off a violin part. I think I am. They're beautiful if you want to look them up. Did the Prokofiev Quintet with him just recently, and with my husband Kevin, so that was a great family moment, right? And we've arranged some Baroque trios. I wouldn't even say arranged, because most of them have a violone or bass continuo part that is for bass instrument. They often have a viola or a alto kind of line, and then oboe. It's often oboe was the instrument that the part would be written for, but we've tried to find works that we can play for the three of us, or adding in a violin friend to make, a larger ensemble. Looking forward to, at some point, playing the standard repertoire with him, like the Dvorak bass quintet or the Trout quintet or something. I'm sure it will happen someday. Let's see if there's any more chat questions that I missed. No, I think we're okay. All right, another question from the sheet of pre-selected questions, I guess, that were sent in ahead of time. With the development of virtual performances until groups can get back on stage, what would be your dream program to perform with a small chamber group online? Oh my gosh, I did go through all these and take notes so I would sound smart and organized, and I did not get to that one. So now I'm going to be going off the top of my head. Small chamber groups online. All right, so I'm thinking at first I'm going to be most comfortable playing with other string players because we can mask up. And as you know from my earlier public service announcement, I'm really into the masks. So if we're thinking strings, I would probably want to play something with Toby. So maybe doing the Dvorak bass quintet would be fun to do. I could see doing, gosh, there's just so many things. I mean, I always feel guilty because string players have such great chamber music repertoire. And then it's a joke in our house that we hate wind quintets. So whenever one it comes on the radio where we ask my husband, like, do we have to listen to this? I know that's just me being a string player. But anyway, we have great repertoire, I think, for strings. So, we could do trios, we could do Beethoven trios, we could do amazing like Schubert or Mendelssohn quartets, or even some Beethoven string quartets. We could do, like I said, the Dvorak quintet. There's a Dvorak double viola quintet that I really love. That it's like the American quintet. That piece I love. We could have 8 string players, except that's more than 5 in a room, I guess. But we could do Souvenir, Tchaikovsky Souvenir. That's always a crowd pleaser. But I don't know if we're going to have to stay to 5 and less. I'm not really sure how the regulations affect us doing these kind of things. So anyway, there's never a concert that I played that I think I hated that music. I didn't want to play it. I always enjoy what I'm playing. So actually, I'm one of the least picky people in terms of repertoire. When I'm playing, I'm happy. So usually I let my colleagues decide what they want to do. Usually the viola part is not the make or break part of the ensemble. We're like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And hey, that's the protein. So that's the good stuff. So I'm open to anything. I really am. And there's such good music being written nowadays too. David Feldberg's the one with his finger on that pulse. So I'm sure, if I'm throwing out Dvorak and Beethoven, he's going to throw out like 4 or 5 names that are, in the last 20 years. And those pieces are going to be just as compelling and cool to play. So I'd be happy to just hear what my colleagues want to do. Let's see. Somebody wrote, what's your relationship with the viola? Did the whole strings world know when the Strad was stolen in Milwaukee and later found? I'm not sure I know too much about that Strad in Milwaukee story. I have to say, I don't read a lot of string-related stuff. I'm kind of reading my Dressage Foundation magazines if I have any time to read anything. And yes, Elaine, embrace wind music. I'm sure there's wind players who feel the same about like some string quartets. They're like, not another Mozart string quartet or Haydn. We've heard all of them before. But going back to the Strad story, I'm not sure I know about that. And my relationship with the viola, I guess more like on a daily basis, is I want to play every day. And I think that's pretty cool because I wasn't sure how that would go when I didn't have any concerts anymore. And I actually was asking my students, hey, let me make tutorials for you because it gives me something to do. I'm like, I can pull that piece out again and try it and come up with new ideas and new ways to teach it. And, it's not like a chore. And, and reading through new pieces and sort of thinking at some point, that'll be a great piece for recital. I'm not someone who's going to practice maniacally at something to make it perfect when no one's going to hear it right now. But of course, I will practice really hard if I have something that's going to be really important and a lot of people are going to hear it. And so there's some times when I can't ride for a couple days or maybe a week or so, and I just have to buckle down and do the hours. And so my family starts saying, are all the Viola Concertos really sad, angsty, troubled works? And the answer is yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay, so I like them, but that's the way it kind of goes. Almost every composer has written an elegy or lament for the viola, and that's okay. We're okay with that. We can do that genre. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if anybody else wants to post something in the chat. If you do, feel free, because I have gotten through the 8 questions. So if you want to ask any more questions, you can. I think I'm going to play something now that I'm good and totally not warmed up. So this is, I think I'm playing from the 2nd Bach cello suite, the D minor suite, because minor is kind of a viola thing, right? And it's such a dark key, and also these 2 movements, the Allemande and the Courante, have such nice comparisons in sort of tempo and character, with the Allemande being very, I want to say, kind of stately, poised, and also a little melancholy. And then the courant trying to sort of invigorate the key, I guess is the feeling, and energize it. So here we go, unwarmed up. And I think these things get archived, so I'll never be able to live this down if it's bad. Okay. And you're all going to say, how does she play with the bow in the wrong hand? I think this is flipping my screen. We'll see. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who just tuned in, that was the second suite of Bach, cello suite transcribed for viola by Watson Forbes. Actually, that's the Forbes transcription. That's what happens when I have nothing written on my music. So if this was a tutorial for my students, I would say, third line from the bottom, play the C sharp with fourth finger, because if you don't, you can't play the G that follows, and then that's very bad. Okay, so that's when I say you should always practice with a pencil in your hand, so when you have a great thought like that, you go and mark it in the music. So that's what I'm going to do now, because I know I can see that several of my students have tuned in. Third line from the bottom, second bar, 4, 3, 2 is the only way to go. It's not going to work any other way. Okay, so I'm looking to see if there's any more questions. one thing I wanted to do, people are wondering what have you done that's new maybe over the COVID time. And so I want to show you the cutest kitten in the world. So I thought it would be good for our mental health during this time to foster a shelter pet. So I put my name on the list to foster a kitten. And we have our own big cat, Marley, who's somewhere around here. And I thought, well, he won't mind if we have a kitten for a little while, then we return it to the shelter when it's old enough to be adopted. Well, that's famous last words, because if you get a kitten that looks like this, prepare yourself, it is the cutest kitten in the world. Then you can't give it back. So this will now be our adopted kitten. Here's Quincy. I know it's terrible because on a Zoom call, you could all go, oh, he's so cute, because he totally is. And so this is our cat now. He was about a third this size when we got him. He was a half pound. And he looks very sleepy now because he was sleeping in my viola case while I played. So he passed the viola test. It doesn't wake him up to hear viola. And he also passed the big cat test because our big cat does not beat him up. In fact, he runs the big cat off his food all the time. So anyway, that's Quincy. And he's no longer available for adoption at the East Side Shelter because we're not going to give him back. And I've been spending a lot of time with those toys that have like the little fluffy bird on it. And he's like an amazing jumper catcher. But right now, he's super sleepy looking. So you don't know just how wild Siamese cats actually are. All right, he's going to say goodbye. It's going to be one of those cat videos where people make their cats do, oh, this is so cute. All right, I'm putting him back. Let's see. Are there any, somebody said, is he Balinese? I don't know. I try not to think of myself as one of those crazy cat people because I'm already a crazy horse person. But I might want to do a DNA test on that cat just to know. But he's kind of funny. He just came over. He's more awake now. He's kind of funny because he's a little like a rag doll in that sometimes he just flops and you want to hold him like a baby like that. Anyway, I thought I had to do that show until maybe Toby will let you see Quincy again next week if you tune in. And yeah, we really were not thinking we were going to adopt a rescue. We're just helping the shelter, but he gets along perfectly with our family and our situation. So he's a keeper. And let's see, anything else? All right. So I think I'm going to wrap up here unless anyone wants to post another question. Somebody asked, is he seal point? Yes, he is. I don't know if that means anything that special as to what he is, but he's got the blue eyes and he's just super cute. He's got the really high meow right now. Some people want to know, I mean, it's always that thing in the program book, what instrument do you play? You know, you see so-and-so plays on a such and such, such and such. So when I was studying in high school with my mentor, Betty Jean Hagen, of course, she had a Guarneri del Gesù violin because she was very famous and it was on loan from a foundation. So she had an amazing violin. But she also had a viola that sounded fabulous, and she didn't play viola that much. Maybe I was one of her only viola students. And so she let me borrow it. I was able to use it for some competitions and stuff. And then I got ready to go to Stony Brook, and she said, you know, I do love you, but you cannot take my viola with you. So you need your own viola. And then without telling me or my parents, she commissioned a viola by the same maker, exactly the same model as hers, same size, you know, same specifications. And so this viola showed up at my lesson, and she said, oh, you know, the maker just made another one. What do you think? And so the maker's Brian Skarstad, and he was in Pleasantville, New York at the time, so Westchester County, and was sort of a violin adjuster to the stars. And this viola is actually better than hers. And she knew it. When I started playing it, she said, that already sounds better than mine, and it's brand new, you know, so it hasn't like developed yet. Because instruments actually, string instruments, you have to play on them for a while to let the sound open up. They actually don't sound as good when they're brand new as they do later. And so anyway, it's this if you look inside it, it says, the label says, Brian Skarstad, New York, 1988, right? So that was the year I went to college. And so then she said, well, he's not going to give it to you. You do have to buy it from him. And, this was kind of news to my parents. But then she invited Brian to come out, hear me play the viola. And he said, just pay when you can what you can. And I have not played on another instrument that I like better than this instrument. I have to say, I don't generally pick up super expensive instruments because I have this weird fear that I'm going to drop them or step on them or just do something klutzy, and there goes 300 years of antique instrument on the floor. But I don't even know what the value of this instrument is because to me, it's priceless. It can blend in a group and it can be heard when it needs to be, which is kind of important for a viola. So that's what my viola is, and I've had it. It's only been played by me, nobody else, and I don't see any need to ever get another instrument, so I feel very lucky. And once again, I thank Betty G for that. Let's see. I think Jackie Erickson posted, tell us about your viola. That's good. That makes it seem like I was asked and I didn't just decide I was going to do something about that. But it's pretty big. It's almost 17 inches. 17 inches is considered to be a big viola. It's a little under that. It's like 16 7/8. A violin, I want to say, is about 14 and a half inches. And what you're talking about is the body of the instrument from here to here. So it can have a different string length. They have ways to manipulate the bridge and the tailpiece and different things to make it not be as much of a stretch. But when we measure it, we're talking about the body length of the instrument, and that has to do with how far out your arm would have to go. So really beyond 17 inches, it's kind of hard to really get out there unless you're like a basketball player and you've got super long arms. And it's hard to hold up too, because the more it is out there, the more wood it is, right? And that's exponential if you know physics and the properties of the lever arm and gravity working across the horizontal plane. So there, I made a connection with music and physics. Does my viola have a name? No, isn't that terrible? I've had students who have given it a name, and I don't even remember. Allie Norris, are you out there? I think you gave my viola a name. I don't remember. You weren't my student, but I've known you forever. There are people that have named it for me, and I don't remember what the name was. I'm not very sentimental in some ways about that. I mean, I appreciate this instrument, but I don't think, oh, Gustav. It's just a great instrument that, an artist put effort into making, and he got lucky too at the same time. The stars came together on this viola. So I think we're done with questions. And it's been so great spending the time. I think we had up to like 90 people maybe on. I'm not even sure how to tell how many people were on this. But no, 40 people. That's fine. I feel less nervous now. And so this is my living room. That's my piano. And that's our strange artwork that came with a house that we bought. And the other artwork was made by the first man diagnosed with autism in our state. So I'll show you that a little bit. See those big panels? That's kind of close to our heart because our older son, Toby's older brother, has very severe autism. And so, we wanted to support autistic artists in our community, artists with autism, I should say, in our community. And we really like those big, colorful geometric patterns that this artist likes to work in. And I'm done, okay? And it was so nice spending time with you all. And next week at the same time, my son Toby, by the way, here's Toby playing with the cat. Where's the cat? Well, there's Toby with the cat toy. And there is a cat. There we go. See, super cute. Anyway, if you're lucky, Toby will play some jazz and some classical music, and also bring Quincy out, Quincy the cat, who's right now getting a lot of our attention. All right, I'm going to end the live feed here. Goodbye, everybody.